All right, ready? Five, four, three, two. Hey E, what's going on, brother? Yeah, man. It's been a it's been an interesting couple of weeks, to say the least. Yeah, it's been it's been an interesting couple of weeks, to say the least. And yeah, man. I don't we hadn't put out an episode in a couple of weeks because I don't know, man. It's just been tough to really keep up with regularly scheduled content when um, the climate in the country today, it just in all of our worlds has just kind of been impacted so much. And yeah, and you and I, if anybody's watching on video, they can see we're highly melanated brothers. you know, yeah. And that's been a thing for the past couple of years as we kind of speak to our audience. We're coming from that perspective of being two minority brothers navigating the corporate world and our experiences of having to learn these rules of the game, not by somebody giving us the game, right? But either experience or somebody else who went through the struggle kind of pulling us aside and saying, hey, man, you know, you don't look like the rest of them. And so you're going to have to kind of learn this stuff, take your bumps, and know that no matter how far you go, there's always going to be a battle to fight. Right. 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 Yeah, man. I mean, I spent a lot of the week, um, consuming a lot of what's happening, educating myself on some of the proposed community solutions out there, and kind of getting my knowledge up, but then also kind of revisiting, just my understanding of government, all the different systems, how they're stacked against. Um, yeah, and history is one of my favorite subjects, and so I do end up spending. I spend a lot of time on the interwebs. You know, kind of deep diving on some of this. some of the history stuff, some of the buzzwords that are in the media, just just kind of educating myself. But also, man, you know, we do have to protect our mental awareness, our mental health during times like this, because while the moment is very intense, some of us are still having to go to work and work with um, all races and ethnicities. You know what I mean? And so there, yeah. And so there's a time when I have to kind of like, okay, I gotta get off my phone. I gotta get off the internet because I need to be able to be professional in this space today. And so I found my right. So I found myself kind of juggling that week. But what I wanted to talk about today, man, was just some of the obvious stuff, right? Where uh, we are very aware of our own race as it relates to um, how we kind of maneuver through the corporate space. Um, and I just kind of wanted to talk about one, our experiences as black men in this world, and especially in the corporate America. But I also wanted to get you, which I consider like the OG. I wanted to get a lot of your insight because you've seen a lot of this stuff for the past 50 years or so. You know what I mean? And so I think you have a lot more insight and perspective on, the differences between then and now. Yeah. Come to your mic a little bit. There you go. Right. Mm. Right. 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 Mm. Right. Yeah. Right. Hmm. So expound on that a little bit though, because I do like that thinking, because I think a lot of us, when you know when these things come up with the police killings and the brutality, and the moments get hot, right? We tend to band together, but then at some point the intensity of the protests publicly will subside, but there's still a lot of work that's going on behind the scenes by groups. But then those people who are probably not the activists and the street activists kind of go about their regular life, but there's still, like you said, that there's still a lot that can be done. And I think sometimes people are wondering, well, if I'm not the activist type to kind of be out protesting with everybody, what else am I doing? And I think the point you just made is like, if you're a black person, you're gonna be black every day, and so there's there's always things that you're gonna have to confront. But I think the point that you were just making was, you know, we don't have to try and change the world as an individual, right? But we can do things on a daily basis to affect our own little small piece of the world, um, that we can control, right? But in your mind, like what's like expound on that a little bit. Mm, right, right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Right. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Right. 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 And I think my thing has always been, I don't necessarily expect you to understand how it feels to be me, because you can't. You know what I'm saying? It's just not possible. And in the generation, in the current state that we live, even amongst black people, we all have a different black experience. I was telling my wife this the other day. I was like, we all have a different black experience, but we have the same black experience. You know what I mean? And so there's, I may have grown up, I may have not have grown up in the inner cities or in a large metropolitan area, but doesn't matter. I was black growing up in Mississippi, and there's just a whole layer of things that happens there. Even in the workplace, right? I'm one of the few black males in our department, and our experiences, like, we don't feel openly biased against, but there are things that we do notice that there's a difference, and some of it is just the implicit bias that we all have, right? We all have views of other races that are quite stereotypical, which is unfair and that type of thing. But oftentimes we're not in those positions of power to where we even have the power to act on those biases. And I think that's what ends up happening. And I think a lot of what people are screaming about is the dehumanization of black people, and and also just the lack of awareness of privilege. You know what I mean? Because I've had conversations where people, where we talk about this privilege thing, which it was a triggering word today. But I've had conversations where people are just like, it just never occurred to me X, and it's like, well, it occurs to me every day. uh, right? I agree. Mm, yeah. Hmm. Uh-huh. Right. 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 Hmm. Right. Right. Yeah. 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 Hmm. Yeah. That. Go ahead. Yeah. All of us, and yes, things start to break down among economic lines at some point, where privilege is shifted within the minority community. Privilege is shifted towards our way a little bit, um, because of our economic status or whatever. Um, and as crazy as that sounds, as crazy as that is, um, it's the same thing we talk about though. Yes, we do have a little bit of privilege, but at the end of the day, yeah, we still don't have uh, equality, right? Yeah. Yes. No. No. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Right. 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 Yeah, I back to kind of what I was saying about, protecting that mental health this week, man. I was so shaken by, yeah, I was so shaken by a lot of those images, especially the one in Buffalo, and I'm just like, the empathy, and everything becomes a war, a militaristic effort, and it's like, come on, man, like we're all human beings here, right? Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, yeah, right, right, yeah, yeah. Hmm.